Tyler Perry, who is the director, writer, screenplay, producer of Fall from Grace. And it was produced on Netflix. And we wanted to understand if Tyler Perry is in a state of regression. And the reason why I really brought this up is because, I'm gonna start off with the positive and the negatives of the film. Let's start with the negatives. The negatives of this film here, it went into detail basically about Grace, this young woman, this distraught woman who allegedly killed her husband, based on a $300,000 settlement. So the young man was played by Macabre Brooks, and he was supposed to be this flamboyant, this nice art museum type guy, man. I mean, he was supposed to be very, sort of successful, but if you actually do further research, a lot of art people don't really make too much money. And it was really kind of confusing in a way, actually watching this movie. At first, I'm looking like, okay, well, Macabre Brooks, like, what is he? Why he's so significant? Because he's handsome, I guess, or he's tall, and of course, the ridiculous wig that he had, that was just like a very clear fade, But that's for a whole nother thing, though, with Tyler Perry's production and makeup artist with that. But he ended up meeting her around this place and whatever, and she wants to know. Like Crystal Fox, to play for Grace, she want to know, okay, why are you with me? Why do you see me attractive? Of all these other women, you find me, like, I'm in middle age, in my 50s, and you want to start a full-blown relationship. So first I was looking like, okay, this is kind of odd, but I didn't really think he was going to find a way to take advantage of her. Now, going back for the fade in part is when you see an older woman, okay? The older woman, she ended up committing suicide. It was this police officer trying to confront her and trying to make sure that she doesn't do that and talk her way into getting back into the house and just being calm. That's all it is. But he was a police officer, and whatever, things didn't really go as well as planned. And the young lady the older lady, I'm sorry, just dropped. She just died, committed suicide. And then they went to go into detail about him just going back home and really not doing an initial investigation. He talked about it with his wife Jasmine, who played this clerk, the city clerk, aka wanted to be an attorney. We're gonna get that to in a minute. But she was working at this office here, this law firm, and whatever. And they had a little bit of dialogue there. Negatives, it was just starting to become a little bit dry, and I think that the acting was okay, but it should have shown a little more enthusiasm. And the reason why I brought that up is because Tyler Perry, you don't have any writers in your writers room, so I mean, it's just strictly going to your narrative and your vision. And I said this before, you have to have a screenwriters room. You need more people to be creative while you're producing films. You're a multi-million-dollar man. You have the equipment. You have a huge studio. It's actually bigger than Warner Brothers and Marvel combined, man. I mean, 400 over like 100 something acres, man, of land. Just, it's immaculate. It's beautiful. Got your own Oval Office. You have neighborhoods there, and I'm pretty sure this is one of his first films from his studio. He's gonna have more films coming up. But with this, man, I was just like, and it's not trash, but it was just a lot of loopholes. Especially as a screenwriter, you look at the script, you really like, man, like, what is the general direction here? It's like you write it and you're just gonna, film it yourself. But it just goes to show you, as Tyler Perry, you really need a team here. Now, we go into detail with Jasmine. She was supposed to go in here and represent this young woman named Grace, okay? And the Grace already plead guilty. So we're trying to figure out, okay, why is this woman plead guilty? What's the whole circumstances? And she wouldn't just plead guilty, but she found out that she did some further research. She found some type of evidence after she did a little initial interview of her, like, okay, why do you want to plead guilty? Then she got some type of intuition, and she brought that out. I'm going to the positives. The intuition is that, like, okay, I found out that she was a good, fine young woman that was just distraught in her ways. And I'm trying to really go into a further investigation, like, why did she decide to kill her husband? And and I like this too in a way because she was a little more inspired to actually do more in her job instead of just doing the bare minimum. And she was trying to find a purpose. So I feel like how Tyler Perry actually implemented that in his movie. That, okay, well, if you stand up for the justice, and according to the book Isaiah, plead for the widow, stand up for the justice, do what you need to do, and to succeed. But according to this film, he was really against it because he's like, hey, well, I couldn't even afford. We can't afford to go to trial. We can't afford to go to court. Your whole sole purpose in life is just to plea. Just to take him out and help him sign the plea deal and go on about your business. Okay, the salary that I can afford you. But she took a huge risk. Okay, and that's the only really positive about this is that he had a little different messages in there that take risks even though it may cost you your life or your job. But at the end of the day, your morals and connecting with people, networking, that's the best way to get ahead. And I just felt like with Jasmine, she did struggle as a lawyer at first. I mean, it was kind of like when it was in court, whatever, that the case had rested, and then she ended up like wanted the defense to testify. When I'm going all over the place though, but if you actually watch this film, you kind of understand where I'm going from. But it was just so many scenes there, like I'm going all over from positive to negatives, but there's so many scenes there, like far as like when Makai Brooks was interviewing, when I interviewed, was going on a date with Crystal Fox, aka Grace, and I like how I like how he, because we gotta know a background story of Grace, like what's going on, like what made her kill her husband? Because I was trying to figure that out, like what's the whole idea? Like, is she crazy? It's just like some type of acrimony type stuff. So like it has to be a general motive. Now they went on this he was date, man, and it was just almost an hour, basically them talking and going to different scenes in the past and how she conducted her life. And she was just stating that, hey, I just been hurt in the past. I caught my husband having sex with another woman, and that can add a lot of emotional distress in a human being. I like how he put that in there, and it's just like when they was just meeting each other, I'm just like, man, we'll make him find her attractive. And I'm like, you can get all these women, you had all the models in the world. I mean, you say you are good looking, but you want to get this middle-aged woman. So I mean, I know she's not ugly, but that's just for a whole nother thing. Maybe it's just for the movie, but they eventually went on like a few more dates and they ended up getting married, and it's supposed to be this happy family, sex and all that stuff, and they doing good. She doing good at her job until one turning point. Now this is the turning point here in the film, that you find out that this young man, like I said in the beginning, took $300,000 for her job, and then she put it in her name, of course. Now I'm trying to figure like, how in the hell did he do that? Like, did he hack her stuff? Like, did she get any type of notifications from her bank? Like, some of this stuff wasn't really adding up. Like, how all of a sudden he took out $300,000 from the job? Like, how did is he a hacker? Like, how did he come up with these different skills? And I know when you're spouse, you're married to someone, you don't know like completely. If you just get married, you don't know like all their skills at one point unless they even tell you. Some people have different gifts, but I mean, you really found out that he was taking pictures. He took a picture of her. It was like different flashbacks. He took a picture of, I guess, one of her codes or whatever, and then he had Sarah was one of her friend that lived with her and just gave her different advice. He was consulting her, especially when she had going through this whole divorce thing with her previous husband, and gonna find out they're the ones who were a part of that. And then she ended up losing her job. She was fired. This before she actually knew that, and that's when she took it upon herself. And the dude was just, he caught her having sex with another woman in her bedroom. I mean, just lost her. Her house is going to get floor closed. It was just a lot of negative things going on, and some of the scenes were a little bit more predictable. I'm like, okay, so when Makai Brooks was turning his back on Crystal Fox and just talking just a lot of smack to her, like, hey, you ain't nothing, don't be questioning me, I'm the man, yeah, I stole $300,000, what you gonna do about it? Did she find out through some mail, whatever, at an abandoned building, whatever, and when she did some initial research, and then she confronted him, and that's when she stopped him in his tracks. And it was more like a Lifetime type of feel story, like the scene there, but I mean, it was just so predictable, because I'm looking like, you never turned your back on someone that you mostly just damage and don't care without suffering any type of consequence. So I knew that she either gonna stab him, she either gonna beat him to death or do something. So she took a bat and just brutalized his skull. Now you can see a piece of the brain coming out of his skull. So I'm looking like, okay, at the end of the day, this man is dead. I mean, not calling no type of ambulance. This man is gone. Is completely dead. He's gone. But she threw him down the stairs or whatever and left and confronted Sarah. And this is when they was doing that investigation. So Jasmine got really inspired. It was like, you know what? I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to do what I can. We can lower your sentence. and she was questioning herself a little bit too, because she was like, man, I'm defending a murderer, like I can't believe I'm doing this. This is before she got either some type of more more information. But I'm looking like, man, like, okay, so you mean tell me this dude is still living? When they find out, like, because she found out that the body wasn't there at the basement anymore, so she looking like, okay, what's going on? Like, so did the brother have something to do with it? Like, did somebody pick the body up? Did she so she called the cops and turned herself in? She assumed that she killed the husband. So it was all this stuff, man, and I think it was really lazy when it came to the court, when you had the witnesses here, testifying. It was just like pretty much they going back and forth, and they just, some of them had a few lines here and there, and talk about what they witnessed and being in the neighborhood. Oh, she's not like that. She would never be like that. It was just starting to get kind of bland and boring, man. I mean, because the court, I mean, you in a movie, it's a movie, and it's not like Just Mercy. Just Mercy was a little bit better because, I mean, I was subconsciously, just preparing myself for some type of trial movie. But this was more like, I mean, Get Ready to Murder, like How to Get Away with Murder, like 2.0, something like that, man. It was more like just them in court a lot. I mean, and then she lost the case. Then she went to jail because she decided to do her own thing and want the defendant to testify, even though the case had rested. But then again, you got Tyler Perry going through these twists and these type of turns here. The way he implemented the movie is that at the end, like, oh, where her husband was handcuffing people, and he was like, stay right there. And that's another thing. Why is the officer handcuffing people and then he said, hey, stay right there? And then you're going to go and drive to another scene. So it was one scene that I guess he was handcuffing the individual over some drugs and searching him. And then he got a notification that, when his wife, found out his wife was kidnapped or whatever in some house. And then he, I don't know how you get, but anyway, he drove over there. He said, hey, you stay right there. He drove over there. That's when it was a big brawl and whatever, and he got hit upside the head with a pan, and then he handcuffed her. He handcuffed Sarah, and Sarah, and he was like, "He stay right there," and she ended up moving and escaping. I was like, it was just really poor law enforcement skills right there. I mean, I was just like, man, this is really not realistic at all. I mean, I would at least call backup and had let somebody know into my backup ride, like, hey, I need you to take this individual, take him to the precinct or whatever. I got to go ahead and handle this situation. And then you don't never enter. Police officers are not supposed to enter a house by themselves. It was one of those things too. I think that Tyler Perry kind of lacking. I mean, it was just one of those things that, man, if you really want to improve, you got to kind of be a little bit more realistic here in your movies. I know it's supposed to be a fantasy and a drama thrill, but this is what it comes when you just have, I won't say lack of vision, but you just one narrow-minded, man, and you don't have other people put their input in it, man. I mean, you got to have other writers in there. You got to have a team of people to work with you. I mean, not just say, hey, I wrote this. It's my hard work. Y'all gonna do this, and well, we just gonna tweak it as we go. And he completed this movie in a matter of 5 days. But then again, fast forward, you find out that Jasmine, she was saved or whatever. And then Hakeem Brooks, the one who was actually supposed to steal all this money, she shot. I think she shot and killed him, whatever. It was a big fight between him and her husband. Rescue her. Sarah was the individual that was supposed to be Grace's friend that turned on her and helped Makai Brooks smuggle some money away from her and all that stuff, man. And turns to find out that she was the one who was taking advantage of older people and embezzling their money, in their retirements and chaining them up downstairs. Now that was creepy. I mean, she was just this was a bunch of like older women just chained up in the basement, and she was abusing them. And that kind of fast forward, it kind of makes sense now in the fade and why the older woman decided to kill herself. So I think that's why Tyler Perry tried to tag into that, but it was very lazy, man, and low quality. I just think that it wasn't really a good storytelling. And you can tell it's a different talents with him and Quentin Tarantino and other movie writers, Marshall of the Night, and all these suspense films. But you want something a little bit different. I mean, Acrimony was good. I mean, Family That Prays, but his movies are starting to become a little bit more bland. And like, I'm a huge Tyler Perry fan. I like Tyler Perry. I'm not going to disrespect his hustle, but I just really felt like this was really kind of all over the place. It was really lazy. I see what you were trying to go, and I see that you want to implement some type of messages here in the black community, like be careful who you date, who you marry. Everybody's not your friend type stuff. stand up for the justice if you can. I mean, all this stuff, these moral type of things, which we need to have in the black community. I totally get that, but it's just that with the lack of attention and detail here in this movie. I mean, you had the extras. It was one scene, when Macabre Brooks was dating Grace before all this crazy stuff happened here, and one of the individual was eating. You know how you have extras in a Coney Island or some type of restaurant, whatever, eating. They were looking at the camera. It was one extra literally staring at the camera instead of interacting with the person in front of them and ignoring the camera. And then it's just basic etiquette stuff and acting. And then you have one individual. It was a older man. He was just eating air. He had food on his plate. I guess he missed the scrambled eggs. He ended up had to put the fork to his mouth and was eating it. And he was drinking air. It was no water in the cup. Come on, man. I mean, it was obvious too. It was real obvious, man. I'm looking like, Tyler Perry. You didn't edit that out. You didn't. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know you're gonna make your money and you started this deal with Netflix and whatever, but I mean, we look at your talent and how far you came. Usually, over time, directors will become great. They will progress in their career. But this movie here, I mean, it ain't trash, but it's just like because it got me. I'm not gonna say it was some BS, man, here because and get a very low rating because the reason is it did get me towards the end because I didn't know how this was gonna pan out. I didn't know how this movie was gonna end. I didn't know that her friend was initially the perpetrator of this and pretty much took advantage of Grace and destroyed her whole career. And Grace just didn't know what to do in this particular moment. She lost her morals and was just like, how dare you disrespect me like that? You destroyed my career. You cheated on me. You did all these horrible things. I got to do something. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of just being taken advantage of. And this is when, volcano eruptions and all this emotions just went out of play, man. So, I mean, that was okay. Then the twist and turn, I didn't know that she was just part of abusing older women and just taking their retirement money. Been doing this for 25 years, and you just now come to find out over this case here. But it was just kind of sloppy a little bit, man. As far as the police officer, I thought they could have done a better job as far as was doing the law enforcement tactics and the extras. Just him being a boss too. That was all right, man. I just think he could have had a little bit more to script writing on that. I mean, and Jasmine playing the lawyer was supposed to be a lawyer, man. I mean, just kind of being belligerent when the case rested. Like, who does that in court? And then it was just kind of like lame too in the way that it was this necklace that Grace was given by Macabre Brooks, and she found out that it was wear on Sarah. And that's when she started to like call on everyone, and then all of something. Oh, now we know what happened, and they was the perpetrator and all this stuff. It's just a lot of this stuff didn't really. It was kind of just dry to me, man. But that's really all I really have to say about this, man. I mean, this movie wasn't super trash, but it can be It can be a lot better, man. So I mean, I'm gonna look forward to more of his future projects here. Maybe he's gonna direct more movies on Netflix. But this is my God honest opinion. I mean, get the extras together. You got to edit this movie. You did this in 5 days. You might need to take a month or so. Have screenwriters write your movies, bro, for real. Please have screenwriters. Have a writer's room. You are a multi-million-dollar director, bro. You got to have a team with you, bro. You're going to make your money regardless, man, because you established the audience over the years. But I just think at this moment, man, it's to the point, like, how long are we going to take this, man? Like, just as far as just lack of character development, I felt like this was lacking here in this screenplay, and it was just bone and dry. Besides the twist and turn and just the introduction, the introduction was just very just weird. I'm looking like, okay, why is this happening? And it just didn't seem real to me. It just seemed like, all right, guys, you just go ahead and jump, and just do what you got to do, say your lines. Let's go on here and let's just go to another film, man. I mean, it is what it is, man. People gonna support it. I just felt like that was the attitude towards this movie here and its production. But I gotta give a rating. Your boy Only Junior always rate movies, so I'm gonna give this movie a 6.4 out of 10. I mean, it ain't the best and it ain't the worst. Okay, some people clowning this, saying this is the worst movie they have ever seen in their life by Tyler Perry. I'm like, maybe Medea goes to jail, maybe, but It's starting to lose this. Starting to lose creativity, and I just think that you gotta go back to the drawing boards, go back to the basics of fundamentals of screenwriting, and you gotta have a strong plot. You gotta have a strong conflict resolution, but it all has to pay and be kind of entertaining in a way, but make sense and be logical. And the character development has to be very strong here in this film. It has to be. I mean, the environment. It just you gotta really suck your your audience into this movie here. But since you're the one who's directing and you're not taking any type of shots from nobody, I mean, you're not reporting to anyone. You can just put up any type of movie you want. And I'm not saying you're not talented. You're very talented, Mr. Tyler Perry. But it's just I just feel like your movies are starting to regress a little bit in this particular moment, man. So 6.4 out of 10. That's my honest to God opinion, man. That there you have it. You guys should check it out. I'm glad it's on Netflix. It's not on the big screen, but it's Far From Grace. I'm not sure what the budget was. The actors, they could have done a better job. I think they could have done a better job more of a lawyer as far as Jasmine. But I see how I like how she did the interview and stuff. And she mostly connected with Grace. That was good. Crystal Fox did okay. She did great. But it was just like I say, it was just the writing. I think that really was a turnoff in this film here. But that's all I got to say. Please donate to the channel. A Cash App, a Youngling Jr. I really appreciate you guys viewing this. Tell me what you guys think about Fall From Grace. You think this was the worst movie or the best movie? I want to hear your thoughts, your scenes about the movie, one of your favorite thoughts about this, man. I really want to have a discussion with this. But Tyler Perry, you can do a little bit better, bro. But yeah, this is 6.4 for me, dog. 6.4 out of 10. I'm out. Deuces.